Hello, Steve White, Steve Arts 89. Well, I'm going to do a little review of Halloween 2018. Now, I had a great time seeing Halloween H2O on the actual night of Halloween in 1998, like 20 years after the original. It was amazing. I was really excited when I found out Halloween H40 basically was going to happen. I was a bit worried when I found out they were abandoning all the other mythology. Now, with H2O, they just sort of ignored the other stories and didn't continue anything directly, but you can kind of believe that all that happened, and then he found her hiding somewhere, that she'd left after she had Jamie or something. You can kind of, you can kind of watch the films and it doesn't really destroy one another. This one, however, I know John Carpenter hated the sister storyline and how they had continued the saga on and what happened with Michael. He saw the film very differently than the franchise sort of positioned it later, and I'm not surprised that they went this way. Now, I was a little disappointed by the film when I first saw it. A couple of reasons. One was I didn't have the best experience meeting Jamie Lee Curtis. She went to the premiere and a Q&A, and no one got to ask any questions, and the premiere, she pretty much walked past whole sections of people, including my section, and just sort of spoke to the reporters and just sort of gave us, when we were like calling out to her, she was like, 1 minute, like, wait 1 moment. She was just like really talking down to the fans, and just sort of like she just didn't have enough time. It was like inconvenient, and like she got there quarter past for a 6:30 screening, so she really should have gotten there at 6 and spent the time to go around the whole audience before the actual premiere. She was expected at 6:15 and she was in and out by 6:30, as she didn't give them a second more than, so just the coldness of how she handled the crowd and how she handled just the whole thing, because she really needed this movie, because her career had pretty much slowed, as it does for most women of her age in Hollywood, and she really needed this character to give her another hit. And she did a lot of press, she did a lot of premieres, she did a lot of talking up, and she sold the film really well, and it did really well. But I was disappointed when I saw it, and I wasn't sure if it was partly because I was disappointed in her, because I'd seen a lot of interviews over these and wasn't sure if she was really appreciative of her fans. I'm not sure she said she was, but I wasn't sure if she was. I'd seen her on Oprah years ago, and she had talked about the film that she was in, and she made it all about her and not the actual real life people who were there on Oprah to talk about them. It was about a child who died and his heart was given away, his organs were given away, and saved other people's lives. And she got all emotional and made it all about her, and I thought, is she a really passionate person, or is she just a narcissist who makes it all about her? I wasn't sure. So I was just hoped for the best, and was disappointed when she was pretty cold to the crowd, and it was all very mechanical. Now, I tried not to take that into the film. Now, I saw the film at a Q&A session with Jamie Lee Curtis on about a week before Halloween, and I decided not to watch the whole film because I didn't want to watch the film not on Halloween. I wanted to see it on Halloween night. So I walked out after about 50 minutes, after the first bunch of killings and the police get called in, which the film goes for about an hour 45 minutes. So it left me with about 45 minutes or so left of the film. So I went back, I watched the first part of the film again, and then the end of the film on Halloween night, after seeing the original Halloween at 7:30 in the same cinema, and then 9 o'clock for that one. So it was pretty good, but I was a bit disappointed. I wasn't sure if it was because of Jamie, or if it was because I had sort of already seen the first half of the film, and that affected how receptive I was to the whole film, or it seemed kind of disjointed. It seemed like it was a traditional Halloween film to the point where I left, and then it turned into this sort of feminist taking back the power sort of themed sort of movie, which seemed like a separate movie. And there's this one weird twist where the doctor suddenly goes crazy and helps Michael, and basically facilitates Jamie Lee's granddaughter and Michael basically getting to the house, and just, it's very much plot device. It's just done to shock, to to surprise people. It's like a twist which doesn't make any sense and allows certain things to happen. Much like, I just felt the script, there were things that really fell short, and that's really the only issue. The direction, the acting, everything was good, except just a few moments in the script. Like, there are points where okay, when she is at the dinner and she tells her daughter, who is very unhappy with her, that because she's had all these problems growing up with her, having her as a mother of alcoholism and post-traumatic stress, and she says that she saw Michael, and she doesn't explain the situation, and then she just gets dismissed. And then, you know, even a crazier example is later, after the bus crashes, that he escapes from the prison bus, she shows up at their house, and she says the bus crash, and that's it. She doesn't explain what's happening. She could easily have explained that the killer, after all these years, finally had escaped, and now they are actually in danger, and it's not just, she wasn't just crazy. But they don't do that, because that would change the film. They wanted the film to unravel the way it does, so they just made stupid choices on Jamie's behalf, on Laurie's behalf, that don't make sense. And that really, I'm sitting in the theatre and I'm thinking, why doesn't she just explain what's happening? Why does she allow herself to be pushed out the front door? She's this warrior woman, and she's just being shoved out the front door. It just didn't make any sense. And just like the Doctor, it's like they were writing a film and they had, well, this to happen, this to happen, this to happen. How do we make that happen? And a lot of films write like this. They write scenes and situations that they want in the film, and themes and things, and then they just work out how to make it go, and they work backwards and put it together backwards. And then they have these little bits of sticky tape sticking story together that doesn't really work. Sometimes it doesn't really work if looked at. Sometimes it doesn't work when you're watching it the first time. It shouts at you as, this doesn't make sense, wouldn't work. So it felt like two different films with a couple of twists out of place that didn't really work, that jolted you out of one sort of film and one theme and everything into another. And the second part of the film works. You can nearly view them as separate films, and they kind of work. They would have been better off making two films, a traditional Halloween film and a film just about Laurie and her story. Maybe the story started off just about Laurie, and then they sort of shoved in all the traditional Halloween stuff to get the funding and get the film out. So I'm guessing that's where it went. And it's okay film. It's good, but I was expecting more. So I wasn't totally impressed with the film the first time I saw it, but I kind of thought that was probably because of how I viewed it, how I sort of was a bit disillusioned by Jamie Lee Curtis, and I had watched the first half of the film and all that. So I thought, wait till next year, because normally each year I watch all the Halloween films on Halloween. I normally start after 12 on October 30th, so technically it's the 31st, and I get the first few sort of watch the first night, and then I do the rest the next day. And this year I thought, well, I'll just watch the first Halloween and the second Halloween, the new sequel, and I will just get them on Blu-ray, and I will just watch them, and I'll give the film a second chance. So I went out, I got the 35th anniversary edition of the original Halloween Steelbook, which has a very nice booklet, which has a lot of images from behind the scenes and a lot of text, and a picture disc, which we don't always get anymore. And then I went out and got both versions of the sequel, the standard cover and the JB Hi-Fi exclusive for the Blu-ray, and the backs are pretty much the same. And there's no difference with the special features. It's just, and they both have blue discs, no picture discs. And I did also get the soundtrack, which I got last year, which basically just has the same cover art and very little extra art. You just have that image of Jamie and that image of Michael, and that little piece, and that's it. So, and the soundtrack's okay. So yeah, I gave it a second chance, and there were things about it that still bugged me. I felt they were just confused. Like, 1 minute Michael is a babysitter killer, random, Jamie's got nothing to do with him. The next he's acting like the old Michael, I think I said Jason again, Michael, where he's acting like a supernatural being, like he's got super strength, and he's like got some just focus, inhuman focus on, and it just doesn't make any sense. If she's not related to him, why does she spend her whole life thinking he's coming back? You can understand in H2O, she'd think that after he found her again at the hospital, and if the other films happened, if she knew that he came back for her daughter in that, who disappeared, who she probably thought was dead. If that character, if you can sort of believe those films all exist in one universe, you can sort of think they did. And like there's a scene with some cops, which is really stupid, where they're talking about their lunch that they brought with them. And when you see the deleted scenes, because there's a couple of short featurettes which go for about 17 minutes in total. They're like 2 or 3 minutes each. 2 of them are 4 or 5 minutes. The rest are 2 or 3 minutes. So it looks like a bit much bigger special features package than it is. It's really just one featurette split into each section. And you see some deleted scenes that were removed that were actually decent, and then you wonder, how did this scene with these cops talking about their lunch end up taking 2 minutes in the film? And the mythology, they go to so much effort to throw it out and make him just a regular human who's just been in jail for 40 years, but yet they still try and create a mythology around this person who just killed a couple of people randomly and went to jail for like 40 years. And they talk about how the mythology sort of came up like the other films, about him being her brother and everything, but then that they say that's not real, that's not true. So why it just doesn't make the parts of the film just don't make sense. Not just the way the story unfolds, but also just the themes. Like, is he inhumanly evil, or is he a human being? Is he just a random babysitter killer, or is he after Jamie? Is he coming back for Jamie? Like, what the things? It just doesn't work. It's like they wrote the film in reverse. They said, well, we want this to happen, this to happen, this to happen, and they just went and put it all together, and it doesn't really flow. I mean, if you don't think about it, you can enjoy it on a visceral level, but if you start thinking about it, it becomes messy right away. And I was thinking about it the first time I saw it. The second time, I knew what happened, so I just was able to just enjoy the film just for the sensations and for the fact that it's a film that I really couldn't remember what happened. All the other films, I know exactly what happens. They don't scare me really anymore. Sometimes I can get into some of the scenes, like when Jamie's being chased, and the wardrobe scene, stuff like that. But most of the time I'm just watching just out of tradition because I enjoy the films. But this film maybe jumped a few times and had some scares because I only saw it once a year ago and I didn't really remember it all, which was the good part about watching it again. But I'm going to leave it there. That's basically my review. It's essentially a good film, but it is flawed, and I just expected a lot from it, and I probably expected a bit too much. But then again, Jamie Lee sold it so well and talked it up so much, I was expecting it to be brilliant. But I'm going to leave that there. Thanks for listening. Feel free to like and subscribe and tell me what you think of the film. Comments are great. Thanks, bye.